many gifted memberships. Viper Chief's always saying it's his birthday, so I can't tell if it really is birthday or not. JMNZZ450 says, was working on something great to put out before the election. Then my laptop left the world of the living. Pretty bummed. Then I just saw Tim Pool is firing everybody because his ego and haven't stopped laughing. Hail the 199. Hail Cobra Cast IRL. Thank you, JMNZZ450. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I've always had big feet. Yeah, my dad used to. Yeah, my dad used to tell me. He said, "You'd have been tall, boy, if you hadn't to give up so much for foundation."
That's right.
So,
but I said, "This guy is really big," and you were wrestling a good guy that night. Do you remember?
I do remember.
He was a good specimen guy, and
yeah,
and it was
Good
great. But I said, "How
guy.
do we beat this, Vince? What are you doing? Why don't we go before them? We should go before them." But we had that was a great evening, and I think it said, I don't know if it still has. I think it still has your record.
It was it was a big night. It was in Detroit. Yeah, and
well, I have a son who's 6'9". Can you imagine? I have a son who's an inch taller than if you say. So you were probably at super height 6'9".
Yeah, I was probably 6'9". Right there at 6'9".
So 6'9", like 360.
330. I kind of topped out at 330. That was I felt like that was mine.
And what do you weigh now?
I'm probably 305 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, so, and I know we're only 4 minutes in, but like Trump is the only politician, and I know he's not a real politician because he's actually a regular person, but he's the only person that's running for a high political office that could sit here and have a fucking conversation with The Undertaker about professional wrestling. It's absolutely insane. It's insane. This guy, this is why he connects with so many people. Trump is talking to everybody. He's talking to everybody about everything. And he's genuinely asking like real, if you listen to the questions that Trump is asking, I'm a longtime wrestling fan. If you listen to the questions Trump is asking, he's asking as a fan. I don't think that he's going to be as hardcore as some hardcore marks on the internet, but he's absolutely a fan of wrestling.
That's not bad, right?
No, it's easier. I'm trying not to replace any more joints. Right. So
as a wrestler, you really lose a lot of joints, don't you? You really have.
Yeah, I mean, the body's not made to take that on and then most people don't realize the schedule that we kept back then too, which was on the road over 200 days a year, and that's in the ring. So
how do you, I've always wondered, because it's whether it's fun or entertainment, or you're still getting slammed around, right?
Yeah,
does that ring take great absorption? In other words,
well, it's funny that when Vince started getting in the ring and mixing it up a little bit, the rings got a little bit softer.
Yeah, right.
Before that, it would be just like taking a fall on this floor. I mean, they were really hard.
Well, how did you do that? So that was, wow, that's a.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing, and you just condition your body to it where you don't even, after you do it so much, you just don't even think about it.
How often did it, I mean, I know you,
but and see, this is the genius of Trump. Taker asking Donald Trump political questions is not going to matter to the Undertaker's audience. Donald Trump going on Undertaker's show and Donald Trump asking the Undertaker questions about wrestling and getting Undertaker's audience to hear Undertaker's answers to Trump is good for Trump. It's absolutely phenomenal.
You're supposed to interview me, but I find it very interesting. How often did it happen where somebody gets really angry? In other words, you hit a guy accidentally the wrong way or something, and he's had it. And these are tough guys to start off with. You know, they're not babies. How often did it happen where you're fighting somebody and you made a mistake and he gets angry and he really goes at you?
Yeah, back in the day, like, so I started with Vince in 1990, but before that, in the late 80s and stuff like that, guys were really salty. And they didn't take too many, you're supposed to be a professional. Right. And usually guys you think, well, if he hit me like that, then, it's for a reason. So, they'd mix it up in the ring for a little bit, and then they'd get back in the locker room.
And what would happen? The guys would run into the ring and stop it, right? I was
It
told when you had a
depends.
lot of guys running into the ring, that usually meant that there was a problem.
Usually, when that happens, it's part of the show. When
So
guys
what
are
what
actually
stops somebody from going nuts
um,
and really, really starting a real fight?
yeah, probably losing their job. Yeah, I mean, you have to. What we do is hard enough, but if you go in there and start taking liberties with somebody, and and are starting trouble and having fights,
Yeah.
you're not going to be around long. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you have to have a cohesive unit of guys. You don't have to like each other. I think it's like politics.
Right.
You don't have to like each other, but you have to be professional enough to work with each other.
Did you like some of these guys a lot or not really?
Yes, no. A lot of the guys I'm really close with, and then there's some guys that I don't care much for, but it's kind of like the way I wish politics would get back to.
Yeah.
I may not agree with you, but I can share a dressing room with you. I can shake your hand, and we can do business. And that's how it is. There's some guys that you kind of naturally you gravitate towards and
Yeah.
become friends with. And I had a group of guys that we
So
ran.
how many years have you done it?
So I had a in-ring career of right at 34, 35 years.
I mean, that's amazing, and you're still in one piece. Right?
I'm in one piece. I got some new parts. I got some new knees. I got
Does
new
every
hips.
wrestler end up essentially having to get new parts?
At some point, usually you're going to have something that needs to be replaced. There's very few guys that get out unscathed, and that's.
You ever get hurt so badly that you basically can't continue the match, and you got to be like literally helped out and carried out?
It happens. It happens, and it's just part of what most people don't realize, Mr. President, is that although we're entertainment,
Right.
but in any given match, you're 2 inches away from something really catastrophic happening.
Absolutely.
That's what I've always said. I can't, I can't really stand when people make the statement that wrestling's fake, because there's nothing fake about wrestling. It's absolutely one of the most dangerous, sports you get involved in, and I do consider it a sport. Fuck you, Beardo. Um, and it's predetermined, but the finish of the match is predetermined, but the path to get there is not predetermined. You actually have to go out there and execute at a high level, keep the audience entertained. You have to train. You have to know how to take your falls the correct way, and you have to be able to work with your opponent in order to make all this happen. But like I've said, with like Stone Cold Steve Austin is the greatest example of Stone Cold Steve Austin was never going to be the top guy in the company based on how the company saw him. Austin went out there and made his own path. He created his path by being himself and being determined to be the absolute best out there. There wasn't anybody at the top of WWF that was going, this Stone Cold guy, we got to make him the champion. That was not the case at all. Stone Cold absolutely went into that locker room and said, I'm going to take this motherfucker over. I'm going to dominate, and I'm going to be the top guy in the company. And the only way he was able to do that is by literally changing the entire industry. He did that by himself. And of course, Vince and Vince's genius along the way, but it's not like Vince was looking to elevate Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin decided, I'm going to elevate myself.
Absolutely.
And then when you figure the amount of dates per year that you work, I mean, that really goes up exponentially. The risk factor.
So
that is 100% wrong. If you know anything about wrestling, Vince did push Austin to the top. No, he did not. Vince McMahon was forced to push Austin to the top. Vince McMahon did not want Austin. Vince McMahon named Steve Austin the fucking ringmaster. The ringmaster. And go through the list of names that they were going to give him before the ringmaster. He was the $1 million champion. It was pathetic. Stone Cold went out there and literally changed the entire culture of the business, and then he forced the hand. And then, of course, at some point in time, Vince looked at it and said, I can't not elevate this guy. It's the same thing as Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was never supposed to be a top guy. The Yes Movement was never supposed to be what it became at WrestleMania 30. It was never supposed to win that belt. He forced the hand by winning over the audience. That's what happened. Obviously, at some point in time, Vince saw the writing on the wall, but that's because Stone Cold forced his hand.
You worked 200 days a year.
I had an 8-year stretch where I averaged about 220 days a year.
And then you can just keep going.
You just kind of get in that zone. Your body kind of gets used to the trauma, and you don't feel right. Actually, if you go home for too long, you kind of get restless, and your body feels too good. And you think, I got to go back to work.
That's a great. Well, you had a great career.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do.
People love you. That's why. So I heard they said, and I heard you were a fan. I don't want to say, but I heard you were like a political fan of mine, and I appreciated that. But I said he was such an incredible athlete, entertainer.
That's a great point. Somebody brought up that if the curtain call didn't happen with the Click and Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Razor Ramon, if that moment never happens, Stone Cold Steve Austin never wins King of the Ring. So quick backstory on that. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall had signed with WCW. Shawn Michaels was the champion. He was the top guy, and Triple H was just one of the boys. Hall and Nash left WWF to go to WCW. They had a curtain call. They broke character. It was a big no-no in the business. So, of course, Hall and Nash left the company. Shawn Michaels was the champion. He wasn't going to get punished because he was too big of a deal. So Triple H was the fall guy. Triple H essentially got punished and knocked it down to the bottom of the totem pole, lost his opportunity to win King of the Ring. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the next man up. They gave it to Stone Cold. Stone Cold went and cut the most legendary promo in the history of wrestling with his Austin 316 promo, which is one of the main things that elevated him from, somewhat high mid-Carter to absolute legend. That's the quick backstory right there.
Because it's an entertainer. You have a lot of great athletes that can't entertain. You might as well forget it in your sport, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of, and that's what most people don't really grasp. I mean, you can be a great athlete and not excel. You've got to have the whole package. You have to basically, and I think you've been a master of this. You got to make people care. You got to make them care one way or another. Either they love you or they hate you.
So who do you think, outside of you, who do you think was the greatest combination of athlete, entertainer, et cetera, et cetera? Who was the greatest of the couple of greatest that you've seen?
It's Stone Cold and his Flair. And if you want to talk about like transcendent star, it's got to be Hulk Hogan. But Stone Cold and Flair are the two GOATs.
My goodness, there's Stone Cold Steve Austin. Right. He was up there. You'd have to put Hulk Hogan in there, right. And Ric Flair.
Yep.
Those are guys that just kind of off the top of my head could captivate you with what they had to say, deliver performance in the ring, and then
now you were
Overcast Wrestling win.
Haystacks Calhoun, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. Did you ever? You were too young.
Yeah, a little before my time.
But he weighed like 500 something.
He was a big man.
Now I feel like I got to start talking wrestling like through all this. Bret Hart is the single greatest in-ring technician. There's no better wrestler than Bret the Hitman Hart when it comes to just technical wrestling ability. Shawn Michaels is the best in-ring performer I've ever seen. Stone Cold had the whole package along with Ric Flair, and Hulk Hogan just defined the 80s and then redefined himself and became the biggest villain of all time. So those are some of the guys that are at the top of my list.
He was a big man.
He was a big one.
Yeah.
Let's see. You had a lot of beauties.
I had my share of giants. That Vince used to feed them all to me when I first came up. Like if there was a giant, there was a monster, right. They were coming my way first. And if I could work with them, then he would let Hogan or somebody else work. But I had to break them in.
Mark, in an economy like this,
yes,
something that you and I hate more than anything is debt.
Hate debt.
So this is the grift portion. So, of course, we let them grift away because we respect the grift here at CobraCast 199.
Business. Bad for business. Debt is a bad thing. But we partnered up with some friends of ours over at PDS.
Hey, you might some new people might be here, but I don't skip the I don't skip the grifting sessions. I
You
allow
just
it.
be honest with yourself, and it's time to be honest with your finances. You're never going to get out of debt unless you become financially smart. And
Okay.
that's where PDS is going to help you out. Okay.
What do they do?
Well, during the holidays, people get in more debt than any other time of the year. Last year, half of American consumers took on debt to pay for the holidays. This year, that could be you, could be me, but it's never too early to start planning to get out of debt. And our friends at PDS Debt can help
Beardo, you catching strays? Laughing Man says Jeremy doesn't skip like Beardo skips leg day.
with a personalized solution just for you. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, PDS has the solution. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies. There's no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair
Okay, Undertaker, you're one of the single greatest wrestlers of all time. Your gimmick is legendary. This is a fucking horrific ad read, bro. Like, what the fuck are we
credit
doing?
accepted.
Wow.
Save more while paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. We've all been in debt.
Yep.
You were in debt when you started wrestling.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I was seriously. Yes.
Just trying to
Major
make it.
debt. Yeah.
Just trying to make it. You could have used PDS.
I
back
could have
then.
really used PDS back then.
You couldn't even. You couldn't
Gary
get a
level
hotel
ad
room.
read.
What's that?
Credit cards maxed out.
All $300.
Struggling.
That limit I had. Yeah.
Well, we want to let our listeners know, I want you to start planning today. We want to help you get out of debt. PDS wants to help you get out of debt. Get a debt-free analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/6feet. It only takes 30 seconds. That is
This is brutal.
pdsdebt.com
This is brutal.
/6feet. pdsdebt.com/6feet. Ladies and gentlemen, please get your finances in order. This is important. If there's ever an ad that's more important, this is the most important. This is very important.
Yes. Yeah. Your finances, you got to have them in check.
Yes.
PDS, man, they're going to help you out.
pds.com/6feet. Thank you, PDS, for sponsoring 6 Feet Under.
How's it doing now? Are there any?
That was a horrific ad read. And I stream with Gary. And I think Gary's ad reads are better than that shit.
Great stars now?
Yeah, we're kind of getting into an era again. We had kind of a turnover where my generation moved out,
Right.
and but we've got guys like Roman Reigns who just had an incredible title reign. We've got another young guy by the name of Gunther, who's going to be really special.
Gunther's
Cody
great.
Rhodes is out there, the son of Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, good.
So yeah, the business itself is in a really, really, really good spot. And then we just had the merger with UFC and
Right, that's
TKO.
good.
Oh my goodness,
Gunther,
yeah. It's been.
Do you know Dana White? Are you,
Oh yeah, I know Dana.
Will you be working with Dana at all? or-
No, they're
Separate?
separate companies, but
So
under
who's running it? Who's
Ari Emanuel
Yeah,
is
good.
the
Ari's excellent.
yeah, he's the big dog, and Dana runs the UFC side, and then Nick Khan he
Good.
runs the WWE side.
Good. It's a very different kind of a thing, but very similar, actually, right?
It is. It really is.
How do
Obviously,
you do revenues there versus you?
Bro, Trump is legitimately interviewing The Undertaker on The Undertaker's own show. You can't make this up. Like, you can't. This is why Trump is so fascinating. Who else would go on The Undertaker show and interview The Undertaker? This is absolutely fantastic.
UFC? Is it?
our revenue. I mean, right now it is crazy. They are selling out.
Your
there's-
revenue, your revenue. is
My revenue.
meaning for the wrestling.
Oh yeah, for
It's doing
wrestling,
well.
it's doing
Really?
doing crazy.
Maybe
That's-
better than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
It really is. Sold out everywhere, and we're doing a lot of international stuff now. Merchandise.
So does that compare with UFC then in terms of revenue? do you think?
I don't really. I don't know their numbers very well, but I know that the stock is doing is doing really well, and the company as a whole
That's
is doing really well.
It outperforms everyone on social media as well.
It's always
So the WWE social media outperforms NFL, MLB,
Really? Huh?
NBA, everyone.
Wow.
Yes, over 100 million subscribers.
These are
on
the
YouTube.
characters. In other words, these are the people. Like your social media is very big, right?
I guess I'm not.
You're not into it.
Is my social?
Taker's Taker's the one getting grilled here about the wrestling business. Dude, this is amazing.
It's pretty big. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's still
Who's
pretty
the
big.
biggest on social media?
The Rock.
Oh, The Rock is Dwayne Johnson.
You
is-
know, he was great. I never thought he liked me, and I felt badly because I think he's a terrific guy. And then Dana White said when I was shot, took a shot to the ear. You may have heard about it.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you
I
about
heard
it.
some
actually.
rumblings about this. Yes.
Rock called Dana and said, I want to have his number. I want to have his number. What he did is sort of incredible. He considered it bravery. I don't know. To me, I considered it like, what's going on here? But it was very nice, actually, The Rock. So you might mention that I said that. Do you speak to him? at all?
Occasionally, I saw him.
Yeah.
I saw him in
No, it's
April.
very good.
I was going to ask
Well,
you.
he's doing great, right?
Yeah,
Taker's trying to get a
He's a
question in.
workaholic. There's no dust settles on him.
Yeah.
He's got his hands in a lot of different things. Yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
You've got a beautiful wife, very intelligent. You've got a wonderful family. And you got people shooting at you. You don't have to do this.
That's true.
I mean,
I don't have to.
you don't have to
I
do
say,
this.
what am I doing
And-
sometimes? Why am I doing this?
But
Yeah.
but you are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think, people get in the media and everything else, they get everything so twisted. But it takes a special human being to sit on a podium, take a bullet, and get up bleeding with your hand raised in the air
Yeah.
and let them know that, the moment right now it is bigger than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what possesses you to put your life on the line when you don't have to?
Yeah.
You have a wonderful life and you've got a tremendous
Well, even
legacy.
beyond that, I sometimes joke with the crowds because we get very big crowds. We had 107,000 in Butler. That's where the accident took place. We had 55,000 when we went back a couple of months later. We had just the other, 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
We had 107,000. We had 101,000 in California.
It's incredible.
3 days ago. Big crowds. And, abnormally big because no politician ever had these crowds. I don't even know what it is exactly. I can't explain it. Why am I getting, it's like, why? But I sometimes say, I don't have to be here with you. I could be in Monte Carlo and the beaches. I could have everything. I don't need this. But I'd rather be in Butler, Pennsylvania with you, And it's true, actually. Because, look, I have a lot of wealthy friends and they go to these places and, most of them are unhappy and all that stuff. But, I feel I have a purpose and that's to rebuild our country. This country is doing so badly. The border, I mean, I don't know what your politics are or is, but your politics,
I haven't seen up to this point. I think I stopped watching right around the 16-minute mark. So yeah, I haven't seen anything beyond this.
just common sense. We have murderers pouring into our country. We have drug dealers pouring in. Just the border. There's many things wrong, but just the border. I think the border is worse than inflation. I think it's the biggest thing. To me, it's like we're now in the middle. I don't know when this is going on, and I wish you luck with it. I know you're going to get high ratings. I used to think I was a big person, but I don't feel so big standing next to this guy. This guy is big.
Well,
But my son would feel better, although he's not quite as wide as you, I will say. Not
He'll
quite.
grow into
He
it.
will be.
Yeah.
He will be someday. But I feel I have an obligation to do this. I had 4 great years. We had the best economy we've ever had as a country. We had the strongest borders we've ever had in recorded history. I guess they might have been very strong 1,000 years ago or something, but we had the strongest borders. We were hitting on all. I rebuilt the military, got the biggest tax cuts in history, got
Hell
the biggest
yeah.
regulation cuts in
I'll
history.
check it.
Really
Check
doing
it.
great.
I'll retweet all you
And
guys.
then we had a crazy election where I did much better than the first time. And if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't have done this, because it showed that there's a lot of love out there. Got hit with COVID, the whole thing, the whole world got hit with COVID, which
Right.
is the China virus to be exact, but and got hit hard. There's never been anything like it. Who would have ever thought the word pandemic? I heard the word, but you never thought it was like a modern day. You figure nowadays you take a shot and you're fine, right?
Right.
It goes, everyone is fine. But we had it's an ancient form of a disease. In 2017, it killed 100 million people. And we could have lost 100. The election was so
There's not too many
rigged.
people.
We're here.
There's not too many people trying to argue with this guy.
No,
so.
that election, that's good. Nobody's going to say, hey, let's take it outside, right? No, but so I got more votes than any sitting president in the history of the country by millions, right? And they say we didn't win. It was a version, but it was a COVID thing. Look, you couldn't get security. Nobody wanted to go outside. Big guys like you would say, I'm not going to be secure. You couldn't get anybody. It was like people didn't want to die.
Right.
It was it was right in the middle of that. And now I'm running again and I'm leading. And I beat Biden. And
This is why you're rolling with this crew, Savvy. That last thing you said, that's why you're here. Just keep it up.
they saw he was getting beaten. It's sort of like, it's a little unfair and it's sort of not really what democracy is all about. But Biden got 14 million votes. He deserved to run it out and see. And they took it away. They actually took away his presidency. If you think about it, it was they call it a coup, but they actually took away his presidency and they gave it to this one. And this one is worse than him. And we're leading now, but we have to see if we can do it. We got to do it. With him, I was leading by a lot. It was sort of over. And they went to him and they said, you're not going to win. And we're going to replace you. Think of that.
I mean, that's a coup.
No, they took
Nice.
it away. Okay, now think of me. I spent $150 million. We're raging. We're doing great. We're against Biden. We have the debate. It was a good debate. He goes down. And now I have to fight somebody else. That's like you going into the ring and you're beating the hell out of somebody and they call up and they say, get that guy out of the ring or put somebody else in for a while.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
No,
You got to fight 2 guys instead of one.
it's a good analogy.
So anyway, so we have a second one that we started. Well, no, but the whole focus was on this one man because it's a one man, it's one thing. And then the debate was like a big deal. And that's over. And you think you have it won, and all of a sudden they replace. And then the new person always has a honeymoon period. So she got 6 weeks of a honeymoon period. Everybody thought good. They didn't think good of her before. In fact, she was the last of 13 people that was going to be chosen, but they wanted to be politically correct. So they picked this person. And she's not qualified. She got no votes. She dropped out. She ran against Biden and she dropped out. She got no votes. They had 13 people. She was number 13, and they picked her. And I guess that's okay. I don't know. The process is pretty crazy. When they say threat to democracy, that's really a threat to democracy.
Yeah,
I'm not a threat to democracy. That is.
I guess you need to ask Joe Biden what a threat to democracy is at this point.
Oh,
right?
he's an angry guy.
So, Mr. President, with the fact that, in the polls right now, you've got Fox, you got CNN, you got all these different polls out there that nobody really knows what to trust and what not to trust. But there's polls out there like with Polymarket where people could literally bet on the actual election, and it's from the people. You're up by 20%. Now, a month ago, you were only up by 10%, and there's been over $2.1 billion that has been put on you to win this election from the people. And you've tweeted about it. You've been talking about Polymarket. why do you think there's been such a swing in and the odds right now of you winning over Vice President Harris?
Yeah, I think they got to know her, that she's incompetent, that she's a Marxist. You could say communist. A lot of people don't know what a Marxist is. But they say, could you use another word? I said, how about communist?
Doesn't get any better, does it?
I don't think you're a big communist fan.
No,
What do you
not.
think?
No.
I
don't think he is. I hang
I
out
don't
with him a
think-
good bit. I don't think he is. Yeah.
I'm from Texas. We don't have those there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first met you, you were walking down getting ready to walk down to the ring. And I was surprised at how big you were. And the other wrestlers were in the room. And I was going to be following him. And they all called him Taker. And they said, it was sort of cool. They said, have a good time, Taker. They were talking about Taker. And I said, that's a cool name. They don't call him Undertaker. They say, they're your friends. Right?
Yep.
The other wrestlers are sitting around waiting. And they're saying, have a good time, Taker. He said, I will indeed. I will indeed. I said, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Taker's a
Do
little
they
easy.
call you Taker?
Yeah, they either call me Taker or Dead Man.
Yeah.
Those are a couple of my
Dead men.
but yeah. Thank you, DraftKings, for
Oh, boy.
sponsoring this episode. UFC 308 is coming down this weekend in the Octagon.
Okay, let's hope this one's a little better. Okay, we're hoping for a little bit better ad read from Taker.
And you are not going to want to miss it. You could make fight night even more exciting by getting into the action with my partners at DraftKings. And right now, all new customers who bet $5 will instantly get $200.
That's a great value.
That's $200 in bonus bets, buddy.
Can't beat it.
That's big time from DraftKings right there. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up using my promo code
6 feet. Yes, sir.
The crown
Is yours.
money.
Thank you, DraftKings.
All right, that was a little better.
I
got more
back to a
people
sore
coming in the
subject,
house.
but back
Sorry.
to
got all type of
Butler. I
people
was
coming over
curious if you were going to have maybe a portrait made out of the chart and hang it on the wall at Mar-a-Lago.
There have been so many portraits of, and some are genius and some are terrible. It's got to be the most. Look, it's amazing because I'm alive. It's not supposed to be. You're not supposed to be alive for iconic, but they say it's the most. I think Iwo Jima
Yes.
was right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
They took a lot of bullets
Yes.
putting up the flag, right? But I will say that I have never seen anything like it. I get paintings every day for paintings. Some are really good and some, aren't good. Some are not great artists. But I've never seen anything like it, actually. I had that with my mugshot, but to a lesser extent. The mugshot was big.
That was a big seller.
The mugshot, I had the mugshot. So who was number one was Elvis Presley. Did you know that? He
The
was
mugshot.
arrested
Yeah.
for something. And that was the biggest. And then Frank Sinatra was second. A lot of big mugshots. He got into a brawl had to do with the booze and women.
They'll
And
do
he
it
had-
every time.
And that can do it.
Every time.
It's a bad combination, right? That'll do it.
It'll do it.
Never for you, though.
No, sir.
Are you a drinker at all?
I've been known to partake in a drink or two. Not as much now as I used to, but
Trump is absolutely dominating this conversation still. Still. It's unbelievable. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I love Taker. Taker's great. This is not about Taker as much as it's just about Trump and how he just has the ability to dominate any situation with any personality. He's the dominant force.
I've pulled it back a little.
So we
lot.
have that crazy mugshot. And
The heck?
as soon as I saw it, I said, that's really
What's
unusual.
happened?
When I went in, I said, I wonder, do I smile and say, screw you? Or do I just act
Did I back it up? My bad.
angry? And I thought the smile wasn't appropriate. So a lot of people said, you know what you do? Just smile. And so I was scowling. And he knows all about scowling. That's what he did. He
Yep.
scowled.
I made a career out of
You
scowling.
made a big career out of scowling. But anyway, so I did. But that thing went.
Hey, listen, I'm sorry that I accidentally skipped it, okay? If you guys knew how hard my job was, it's a tough thing, okay? I'm thinking about quitting my job here on YouTube, okay, because it's very hard. Or I may have to hire someone, and which I don't think it's going to be worth it for that.
Crazy. It was
Yeah.
like 400 million hits.
High production
But this
value.
picture, I think, is even maybe bigger, right? This
Oh,
picture.
it's
More
it's
than
such
likely.
yeah.
I
my
see
goodness.
myself being shot every single day, no matter when. Now, I just left, I was watching something, and they have this picture on the whole act,
Mhm.
the whole thing,
Mhm.
where, from the time you get shot, and I'm following my hand down, and somebody obviously is screaming, "Get down, it's bullets," right? Because otherwise it's almost too perfect because of what you followed it.
Right.
But I look at my hand, there's blood all over my hand. I said, "It's either the biggest mosquito in history or I got shot."
Butler's got some big mosquitoes, right?
Butler's,
Yeah.
probably does.
Mr. President, what was the conversation with your family afterwards, though? Because that's a scary situation.
I knew that it's funny, the surreal experience kind of thing.
Right.
Where, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but a lot of people do, where something happens that's so big. And don't forget, I had thousands and more than you have in wrestling matches, times 3. If you fill up an arena, I had thousands of people out there. So, number one, it's sort of embarrassing. You're speaking, and all of a sudden you're getting down on the floor. If a lot of amazing things happen. Number one, the you could call them fans, but the Patriots, they're really Patriots. They didn't move, and there were a lot of shots fired, at least 8. Right, it's a lot. And the crowd control experts said that one in particular said it's amazing because when they hear bullets, they know bullets. The fans break up and they stampede, and they really stampede, and people get killed from. Nobody left. You saw that with a small group behind me. The group
Right.
behind me was relatively small. The people were all out there, thousands of. You couldn't even see the end of it. And when I got hit, I went down, and then Secret Service was very brave. I have to say, they were all jumping on top, and the bullets were flying right at him. And then he got taken out by the sniper. The sniper got him from a long distance, one shot. Amazing.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get him, you got a lot of people dead. But the Secret Service sniper was amazing, and we believe also the local police hit the barrel of the rifle and splintered the hell out of it. But if they don't get him, and they got him. But if they don't get him, you probably have a lot of dead. We lost 1, and 2 were very badly hurt. We thought they were both going to be gone, and they both made it. Great doctors. Great
Right.
doctors. Country type doctors, right? They were great. You couldn't have had any better. They saved them. They're good. But it was surprisingly, when I think back on it, I was on the floor, had blood pouring all over the place. You would know this better than anybody in the world, probably. They say when your ear gets damaged, it's the bloodiest thing.
It's very bloody. Yeah.
And it has to do with cartilage. If your ear gets cut or damaged, it's very bloody, and you probably
Yeah, I've had mine split. Yeah.
more so than like anything else, which is surprising. But I was loaded up with blood, but I was down, and they thought I got hit numerous times all over the place. And I said, "Nope, I got the ear. I want to get up, get me up." I'm screaming, "Where are my shoes?" Because my shoes got knocked off when they jumped. I mean, they hit pretty hard. They were there fast. They were very brave.
They were.
And I don't know how that happened, but my shoes got ripped off. So, it wasn't a surreal experience. I knew everything that was happening. It was amazing. Did you see the one where my face was just off the ground and the blood's pouring all over the place?
Oh yeah.
I mean, these are some crazy shots. This was not supposed to be my life. This is supposed to be his life. Okay,
Well, I don't mind bleeding. I just rather it not come from bullets.
So, Mark, we had to look good.
Yeah, I guess I should unmute when I talk. This is the 3rd ad read in 30 minutes. 3rd ad read in 33 minutes? Are you fucking kidding me? Undertaker, you need to start a show called Undertaker IRL. I'm just saying. Holy shit.
For today.
We'll try. We ain't got a lot to work with.
I put shoes on.
Hey, like I just you you've proven that you own.
I own closed-toe
Yeah,
shoes. You
so-
put a jacket on. So I
like that,
mean,
huh?
that's the thing. And
This is fucking boring.
for us, we've got
Respect the grift, though. We're respecting
facial
the
hair.
grift.
Yeah.
and we need to look good, and we got to be clean. And that's why our guys over at Manscaped,
Yep. This
they
is a
hooked
great
us
product,
up.
man.
They got us cleaned up today. We're looking good.
I would say skip it, but you know what? You know what? You know what? There's gonna be like 5 fucking more. I'm gonna skip one at some point. It's too many fucking ads.
They gave us the beard hedger. And I'm going to be honest with you, Mark. I'm clean upstairs and downstairs because of Manscaped.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
We're s-
mowed the bushes, huh?
Oh,
you cut the bushes.
we got the we trimmed the hedges. You know what
Uh,
I mean?
skip,
Nice and smooth.
skip.
I
No,
mean,
no,
And
no,
with their
no,
brands on.
no,
Please send me
no,
a
no,
Russian
no,
trimmer with
no,
can
no,
I
no,
here
no,
for
no,
12
no,
free
no,
ship
no.
top. So didn't get back in the ring.
I
so
ain't,
it-
I ain't need
6
to hear
feet,
that
that's
shit.
it.
I ain't need to hear
He's
that.
gonna be shocked when he sees his ratings. He's gonna get that big. He's gonna
His
get
wife doesn't
ratings
want-
like him.
His wife doesn't want him to get back in the ring, so we've got to get these
Well,
ratings.
Oh,
I
is
think-
it- are you gonna? Okay,
No,
well,
sir,
let's ask about
There's
that.
no chance. There's no chance.
I
of that
almost feel
happening.
like I'm doing the interview because it's interesting to me. Where's our big man? Where's our next
Big
governor?
red
Look at
machine
the
over
size of
there,
that guy.
yeah.
He's
Yes, sir.
gonna be the next governor of
How did you
Tennessee.
become such a fan of wrestling?
I love sports, and I knew Vince and this and that. I guess it goes back a long way. I held 3 or 4 WrestleManias.
Yeah, 3 and 4 were at.
I think so.
yeah.
And they were good ones.
Yes.
They were really good ones. It was hot as a pistol then. It's sort of always been hot, but I think it was really, it was really hot. And I don't think I did the first one, but I did maybe 3 and 4.
3
It
and
was-
4.
it
It's
was
the
4.
only. Yeah, it was the
Three-
only time that it's been in the
three-
same place 2 years in a row.
3 and 4. In fact, it was so good I wanted the second one, right? But and it was a tremendous success. It was great. And really, Dana White and Vince are really 2 guys. They're very unique people. Dana's incredible.
Yeah.
And different. It's different kinds. It's actually,
I love that Trump is willing to talk about Vince McMahon as a human being. He's not scared to mention Vince McMahon's name because Vince McMahon is the fucking genius that created this entire billion-dollar worldwide industry. You can say whatever you want about whatever now, but it doesn't change the fact that Vince McMahon is the reason all of these people have careers, have money, have relevancy, and they've all turned their back on him and abandoned him because now suddenly, because the political climate or the mainstream media is talking about it, they're too scared to say that Vince McMahon's a fucking genius and he's the one that's responsible for their entire existence. And it pisses me off. And at least Trump is going, yeah, man, I knew Vince. I was friends with Vince. Vince.
actually a much different product in a certain way, even though it's
No, it
fighting
is.
stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
It's.
Innovated, not created. I I know he didn't create wrestling, but he's the reason that wrestling is, he created the billion-dollar worldwide industry of wrestling. Wrestling before Vince was very localized to the territories, and Vince stepped on a lot of people. I mean, he destroyed a lot of people in order to get to where he ended up being, and he wasn't nice about it. And he was a ruthless businessman who didn't give a shit about anything other than building his empire. And he'll tell you that he didn't steamroll people, but he absolutely did steamroll people. He absolutely did do that. Let's see. We've got Big Dog for 20 says, is there anywhere we can go and watch the glory days of wrestling end to end during the Attitude Era? I mean, I'm sure you're going to have like the WWE Network on Peacock. That's where you're going to get the majority of it. There's still going to be edits, probably not a ton of edits, but there's going to be some. So WWE Network actually, like, if you're being real, it's a fucking fantastic value with the amount of content you're going to get, and you can watch it chronologically. But yeah, WWE Network on Peacock is the best place that I'm going to be able to suggest.
Much
Completely,
different
yeah.
product, but they sort of have some qualities that are very, very similar. But Dana's done an unbelievable job, and Vince Vince preceded him by a little bit, but boy, what a job he did. Right?
Yeah, he really did create just a global juggernaut with WWE, and
So the combination sounds like it's a good combination, right?
so far it's really been amazing. And I think they've only really scratched the surface to how far this is going to go. I mean,
Well, Linda McMahon, I picked, who really helped Vince a lot over the years. You know, a lot of people don't know that. And she's a fantastic woman. She's been a big supporter from the moment, from the very beginning. And she was the head of small businesses, which is big business, basically,
Right.
small business administration. And she did a fantastic job. Everybody loves her. Special woman. And I know she was involved with the WWE. So it used to be WWF, right?
Right.
Sir.
And they just couldn't get that name back, which was amazing, right? They couldn't.
well, I
Did
think
it make a
eventually,
difference? Do you think it made a difference? WWE, WW. Now I guess with time it's okay.
with time, it's
but it was
just kind of
hard to get used to it.
yeah,
right?
for
WWF, light years better of a name. I hate the name WWE. I can't stand it. I don't hate it as bad as trying to say X instead of Twitter, but WWF, infinitely better name. Not even remotely close. And so, yeah.
first, yeah, it really was. I just think it got into the big deal with I think it was the World Wildlife Fund, and I just think he seized the moment and said, you know what, it's time for a little bit of change, and it wasn't worth fighting it in the court and tying all that
And
up.
they were being absolutely very tough, right?
Yeah, and I don't think anybody was going to confuse World Wrestling Federation
No.
with the World Wildlife Fund. I mean, they were it was just semantics. I
Did
think
he lose that case?
he just chose not to. He just let it go, and
Well, in
that's
the
why.
end, he did the right thing. But I remember at the beginning, it was so awkward to say WWE, right?
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
It was
went
really
from, yeah.
unbelievable.
Because originally it was the WWF,
Yeah.
and then they
Well, I mean, it kind of goes into the genius of Vince McMahon, but when they ultimately had to drop the name WWF, they then called it WWE, and they ran a campaign with "Get the F Out," and it was, it's beautiful, like typical Vince McMahon genius marketing. Get the F out. Great marketing. Sad that it had to happen though. Fuck the World Wildlife Fund.
took a W off, and then it was like a whole new facelift kind of a deal with the WWE. We changed our branding and the way everything looked, so it ended up working out for the better.
So tell me, what are you doing here with this stuff? So you have a big name, you have a lot of fans.
Mhm.
When you asked me to do this, I said I'm going to do it because I'm a fan. I really think you've done a great job. What is this? So tell me what this is all about.
So
It's a platform.
it's my podcast. This guy here, I don't know, 8 years ago.
Trump, we're 40 minutes into this thing, and Donald Trump is still interviewing the fucking Undertaker. What an absolute force Donald Trump is.
He works for a veteran owned and operated company, Nine Line. Very patriotic.
Best apparel company ever.
And
What is it? Best what?
Apparel company ever.
Oh, really? Is that right?
We're veteran owned and operated. Yes, sir.
Oh.
Give back charity. Built 50 tiny homes for
Oh.
homeless veterans.
What
5
apparel is it? What kind of?
It's
apparel?
patriotic apparel. It's just T-shirts.
So you know all about the Trump apparel, then, right?
Yes, sir. We actually made a shirt for Corey, who was tragically killed in Butler that day, and
Oh, I see.
we were able to raise a lot of money for his
Wow.
family. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah. but we
raised-
teamed up with this guy who used to wear our shirts,
Good.
and
So how long has that been going? How is it?
so we've known each other for what
7, 8 years.
7, 8 years, and he says, you got this platform. Yeah. Like I wrestle. I'm a wrestler. I did it for over 30 years, and he's like, he says, you've got this huge platform. You need to do something with it. And my wife was the same way. She was like,
How long are you married?
I have been married for 14 years.
Good.
Yes.
Is this your second marriage?
Who counts?
Huh?
Numbers, numbers,
Just a second.
numbers.
A second. All right, you can cut that part out. This sounds like it's going to get a little bit too.
I think I think you can relate. Like we both have kind of maybe outkicked our coverage.
so much for that question.
Yeah.
We'll take that question. The answer started getting a little bit long. There's bad things coming out of that.
See, this is good. This is the Donald Trump that people really don't get to see.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
after
Oh
you
my
do an episode
gosh.
with the president,
Yes, sir.
you got to celebrate.
Well, I intend on it.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Tonight,
Mhm.
I'm going to do some celebrating.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
Do tell.
Dude, you broke momentum bad. Like that was some good momentum. Y'all had some good momentum right then and there. Okay? Here's what I'm going to do, because I love the audience that watches me. I will vow to go back to the 42:55 mark. Krista, 42:55. Remember that timestamp. 42:55. We're gonna go back to it, but we're gonna fast forward right now. We'll go back to it after this. We can't mess up the flow of the show.
Packing men. Pictures, loving since medicine on last.
You know,
Just go. Oh, he's going to come feed it. Chips.
I think you need to show more of this part of you, because I really think, you're a guy's guy and a sports fan, and I know you got to have that. I know you got that tough guy persona and that bravado, but I think this is good. This is fun, and I think you know what you've done. You've made politics fun again.
Yeah.
And I just think some people get caught up in the fact that I think they look at politics now kind of like a wrestling story, and they can't separate reality.
Well, it's so interesting because, and I can't explain exactly why, but so we'll go to places and have 100,000 people show up, and I don't have a card, and I'm not a wrestler. And when I felt your arm, I said I wouldn't have been a very good wrestler. I wouldn't. You get big, strong arms on top of everything else. But and I'll get a crowd of 100,000 people coming about politics. If Ronald Reagan came back and he went to some of the places that I go to, he'd have 250 people or 304, and that's very, very good. And they do it in a ballroom someplace, and I'm getting like 50, 60, 100,000 people. It's crazy. And it's like a love of the country, because, it's hope. It's something going on. It's something very amazing. So now we're in the middle of the election period. I mean, it's actually started. The voting actually started after 4 years. Because if I didn't feel I won by a lot the last election, I wouldn't do it. Because if you lost, you lost. Just, okay, you lose. It's easier in a way to just say, okay, I'm getting on with my life, and maybe I'll go to those beaches or do what I want to do.
There's golf to be played.
Yeah, golf too. You play golf?
I'm a frustrated golfer.
I would think you would hit a long ball if you hit it.
When I hit it, it goes a long way.
Yeah,
I'm just not the. And that's another. I don't want to cut you off, but like, who shoots at a guy who's got a 3-foot putt for birdie?
Right.
Now, who does that?
Right.
I mean, is that right? You had a 3-foot putt for birdie, and a guy starts popping shots off at you?
Yeah, well, that was the second time. Yeah, I'm standing over a putt. He could have at least let me putt it out. But
I mean, come on.
It actually wasn't him, though. It was the Secret Service agent. The guy did a good job. He saw a barrel coming out. Can you believe it? AK-47. That's a big one, right?
Yeah.
And he saw a barrel coming out from behind a bush. The guy's buried in a bush, very lush course. And the Secret Service, he did an amazing job. He's walking down a hole ahead of me, and he sees a barrel coming out of a bush. And he didn't talk. He started shooting because he said, that's not good. And he started shooting. And the guy wasn't hit, but he dropped his gun, and he ran across the street, got into a car. Now listen to this one. A woman, it could only be a woman because men maybe aren't smart enough, right? A woman sees this guy running. He's running across the street. Now, who would do this? It's fairly busy street, big, Congress. And She sees him and she said, he's suspicious. I see people running all the time that don't look so hot. But she follows him for 1 block. He gets into the car. She stops her car, starts taking pictures of his license plate, and starts taking pictures of the type of car it was. It was a whatever, a van of some kind. And she then takes the pictures and sends them to the sheriff. Who would do this? And the sheriff says, wow, because they just had an incident. It only happened 3 minutes before.
Wow.
So the sheriff then gets a picture, and he just had a call that there's this big deal going on. And 2 minutes later, he gets a picture of a car and a license plate sent by the way. Who would do this? I said to the sheriff, if this happened 1,000 times, how many people would follow a guy that's running down the street, stop, and take pictures? And there's some kind of a chip or something on the license plate that if they have the license plate, they can track you down. Did you ever know that? I never heard of that.
I didn't.
There's some kind of a deal that if they have your license plate, they can find you. And they have him speeding down a highway, and they got him and nabbed him fast. But think of that, because he could be out there. And I wouldn't want to have a guy out there that, just dropped an AK-47 and ran, and he's out there. And they got him. And, he's got some problems, bad guy. But think of that. Who would think that somebody would take pictures of somebody's license plate because they saw him and he didn't look right? And a woman did this. Incredible woman. But I said to the police, I said to the sheriff, who's great, I said, Sheriff, how many times, out of 1,000 times, how many times would somebody do that? He said, maybe none.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's so crazy, right?
I see you guys. Somebody sent a super chat. Said Mark Dice commented on Tim Pool's live stream. Might have been taken down by Tim. Dice shredded him, and I'm looking into it too. I'm going to talk more about Tim Pool after this is over because I am pretty fascinated by the whole thing. So I just wanted you guys to know that if anybody has a screenshot of what Mark Dice said on Tim Pool's video, please send it to me on Twitter. Twitter, the place that I'm still posting, I've always posted, unlike Tim Pool, who I guess is scared to tweet now. Back to Trump.
Yeah, it really is.
So it was a pretty wild time, and hopefully we're going to have a great election. We'll straighten out the country, we'll straighten out the border. We have a lot to straighten out. This has been the worst president in history. This is the worst vice president in history. She's worse than he is. And you never know. It's an election. You never know. Maybe somebody likes her. I think we should be in good shape. We knocked him out. Now we have to knock her out, and we'll get it back. And I do it because we're going to make America great again. It's very, we have a MAGA. All about MAGA.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
It's basically
MAGA.
It's basically
make America great again. It's a slogan. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah,
I think I heard it.
It's been pretty successful.
Definitely.
No, it's the greatest movement in the history of the country. And when I say that, if it was wrong, the press would kill. I say this is the greatest movement, and they have to say, I guess that's right. Nothing even close. Maybe the greatest movement in the history of any country. But we have,
Agreed.
And they're all fans of yours, by the way. We have probably 200 million people, if you think about it.
Wow.
Right? Could be more than that. A majority of the country. And they want to see. And when Biden went out, on occasion, and say, we will stop MAGA. We will stop. They say, no, that's make America great again. He's going to stop MAGA. So anyway, it's been very successful. But now we're in the middle of an election. Right smack in the middle, right?
Well, we're in the home stretch.
We have 19 days left, but the voting starts. Voting should be 1 day and should be 19 days or 20 days. It should. We have something I think that's going to be special. The numbers are very good, but who knows? You have to just keep working. And it's an honor to do the show with you guys.
Sir, that means a lot to us, and giving us this opportunity. We're not journalists, and
I turned down 60 minutes, and I'm doing your stupid show.
Yeah, you're doing a professional wrestling podcast.
That's all right.
We're not journalists, and we're really not that great podcasters either. But we get people that watch us. But I do have I have one question. And earlier, you were very gracious, and you met, you met my family,
Right.
and they're sitting over there. My political interests, w- Title IX. You met my daughter.
Yes.
Um, what are we gonna do, or what are you gonna do if elected to protect the integrity of women in sports, and continue on with just the fair play? And I don't mean to put you on the spot,
No, I don't
and I
know.
appreciate
It's a
everything.
simple question to
Well,
me.
but I want to put a face to it. If
Go
you
ahead.
can I bring my daughter?
Absolutely.
Okay, come here.
Wow. Such a beautiful. That's what I call a beautiful daughter, huh?
Thank you. She is, and she's quite the quarterback too.
But you don't want to go and wrestle a guy like if you were doing that, because people do that, like your father, right? He's a little too much to handle, right? No, uh, I will not. I will get rid of it fast. Men playing in women's sports is insane. Okay, it's insane. I mean, I assume you. I can't even imagine anybody thinking anything other. Like, you have to have borders, right? You have to have fair elections. Where are the people that want it? Have you ever met anybody that said we want men playing in women's sports? I've never met anybody. I know there's got to be some kind of a movement. I'm going to terminate that immediately. I'll terminate it. I'm not going to let it happen. Yesterday, a volleyball player got hit.
Oh,
Female team where
horrible.
somebody transitioned, and you don't think of volleyball. She got hit. Now this was a man who transitioned to a woman, and they
Let's see. I see a comment. In Taker's defense, his podcast is normally just him and another former WWE guy talking or telling the stories from when they were active in WWE. Correct? Is what makes 1600. No, 100%. I love Taker. So I think this was a great podcast, and the true, like, I don't mean any disrespect towards Taker when I'm talking about like Trump's dominating the conversation. Like, Taker allowing the conversation to flow naturally is a testament to him, if anything. He wasn't trying to go like, oh, there's certain questions I need to get in. No, he let it flow. He's like, Trump's gonna be Trump. I love Taker.
They showed the shot, and it was all girls. There were girls, older, like 18, 19, 20, very good players, like all-American type players. I think a college team or something. And they had the one guy on the one team, and he was up so high in the air, and he smashed that ball. You don't see that. And this ball came at her at a speed that she's
Right.
never seen. It really whacked her. But other volleyball players were hurt. But the best is weightlifting, where you see a record that stood for like 15 years, and they're putting, an eighth of an ounce on each side of the bar. You know this
Yeah.
feeling. And then some person that transitioned to a female from a male. Have you lifted before? Not much, no. Well, here we are. So he goes, he puts, they add like 100 pounds to it. He's still lifting.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. The swimmers too. Look at the swimmers. I mean, the swimmers, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
So, and I think it's very demeaning to women. But, she wants to play sports and she wants to play against women. You don't necessarily want to play against men. It's okay, but you don't want to do it. Did you see the boxing match at the Olympic boxing?
yeah.
Did you see the guy?
I did. It was.
Did you see that beautiful Italian girl? She's supposed to be a good boxer. She took just a left jab. The guy's up, he goes, boom. That's like a defensive punch. So it goes like that. And I never saw it quite like that. She didn't actually go down. She walked back to her corner. She said, I just got hit harder than I've ever been
Yeah,
hit
it
before.
was ridiculous.
Then the corner pushes her back out. You can do it. You can do it. But he goes with another left jab, and she walked off. She said, there's no way I can beat it. Now, there were two people in the Olympics, because I didn't even know they have female boxing. There were two people that transitioned into women. Both of them won the gold medal. Shockingly. Are you shocked to hear that?
Imagine that, right?
How would you like to play this guy? Okay, he decides to transition. I don't think we have to worry about it. Somehow, I don't think we have to worry about it, but this would not be pleasant. Anyway, it's been great being with you guys.
All the pleasures
Yes,
is
and
ours.
you have a
Sir, thank
beautiful
you.
daughter.
Thank you for that. And I just, as going to this home stretch, I know you're extremely busy. I think you have to go to Michigan now. I just appreciate you giving us the opportunity, and thank you for taking care of women's sports.
Well,
Obviously, it's near and dear to my heart.
It's. I'll bet you're going to be a good athlete, right?
Yes.
Are you good now? Or very good. What sport do you play other than the football?
So right now I'm just playing football because it takes up a lot of my time. But I think when I get to school, I think I'm gonna start playing volleyball.
What position do you play in football?
Quarterback.
Whoa, that's good. And you have good hands for that, I see. Huh?
She's got a pretty good arm.
She's got a little bit of an arm, huh? That's good. Well, I'll be watching. Okay, I'll be watching.
It'll be in the Olympics in
Now
2028.
you have to do me a favor. Tell your father that we had a great time. We're sitting down, and we look a little bit equal. A little bit equal. Tell your father not to show any picture where we're standing up together, because I don't want to look like a small person. You understand? Will you tell him that? You'll watch that from me,
Yes.
okay? Do you understand that, everybody? Because I've never felt that small before. Anyway, it was great, fellas. Great.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're something very special. Take care of yourself.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
see you again. We'll see you again. Get out and vote. Thank you
Please,
very
yes,
much.
everyone.
That was fun.
That was awesome, man. Another freaking ad read. Come on. Listen, we need wrestling to go back to moments like this, okay? We need this right here, okay? We need moments like this where you got Granny trying to knock the hell out of Hulk Hogan. All right?
He wants to punch out a defenseless fan. Well, I tell you, for every person
she wants to knock the hell out of Hogan.
that has a Sting mask. Come on, Granny, go! For every person that has a Sting mask, there's 50,000 behind it.
That's greatness right there, man. We need more of that. We need more of it. Oh, love it. Okay. There's a lot of super chats, and we have a lot to talk about in reference to Tim Pool tonight. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to The Undertaker. That was a fantastic conversation. Big shout out to The Undertaker. If you're just tuning in, or if you tuned in earlier, I was talking about the catastrophic meltdown on Timcast IRL tonight. And Tim is essentially, if I can basically give you the cliff notes here, he's basically saying that managing equipment and running his show is too difficult, so he thinks he's just going to stop running the show. Tim, it's so fucking annoying to even talk about this. Okay, Tim Pool is infinitely more popular and more successful than I am. I don't say that in any way, shape, or form like that I'm unhappy. I love what I have. I have the best audience in the world. I have the easiest job in the world. I have the best community. I have the best team of people. I am a lucky, lucky human being, and I wouldn't trade what I have for anyone. I'm simply making a point that I'm sitting here in an Airbnb that I can afford on, the Geeks and Gamers budget. It's not in. It might be 5% of the budget that Tim has, if I'm lucky. It's probably not even 3% of Tim's budget. I'm sitting here in an Airbnb with a Meta PC. Shout out to Meta PC. So I brought my Meta PC. I have 2 monitors in front of me. I have my Rodecaster, and I have pretty shitty internet, and I'm running a live stream. Tim